Good evening, Threadheads. It's Kris from Socially Awkward Stitching Society. I was planning to shoot a little more sophisticated video for you. I've got new cameras, but I'm having trouble with the new system getting voice and face movement, speaky-talky all synced. So just using the webcam on my laptop for this part. For the hop, I have a special surprise for you. I have made you a new design inspired by a certain Ukrainian grandma who told the Russian soldiers that had come into her city that they should put sunflower seeds in their pockets so that when they fall down on the land and die, at least the sunflowers will grow. So this is in honor of her. And the wonderful feisty grandmas that she reminds me of that were in my life. We're doing something a little special with this freebie. It's one freebie, but I'm going to show you how to use it 3 different ways. So it's kind of like you get a 3-for-1 with this design. The first thing we're going to do is a patch. And then each day, if, good Lord willing, and the creeks don't rise and the technology works, I'm going to have a new application of this same design for you to try. And we're going to do that for 3 days. And then on our hop day, I'm going to have another freebie for you. So keep coming back to see these videos and see how we use this design. Let's get started. All right, so the very first design we're going to do with our sunflower is a patch. And to do the patch, we're going to follow the color stops just as they appear on your color change sheet. This is located in your zip folder that you're going to download with the sunflower design, and you're going to want to print that out. These first 2 stops are how we're going to position our material. So I just use whatever color I'm going to use for the edging. It doesn't really matter what color they are, but you're going to want your position stitch. So you're going to lay down your material, then do a tack down stitch here. So I have already started with color stop 1, and I've stitched it out on stabilizer. I am using a no-show mesh polyester stabilizer. I've got 2 layers in here because I chose to use a little bit larger hoop because I'm using a magnetic hoop and metal scissors. It makes it easier to trim if it's a little bit bigger. You might be able to get away with 1 depending on the material you're using for your patch and the size of your hoop. So for the patch itself, I like to use a twill weave. This is a really lightweight polyester twill that I've backed with fusible buckram, and that gives it that nice stiff patch-like feel, and it also helps keep it from raveling when I do the trim in the hoop. But any kind of twill is going to give you a nice crisp stitch out. You can use duck cloth or canvas. You just might not have as nice of edges of your satins and your fills. So the other thing I like to use a lot for patches is denim. They stitch out really nice, and it's already got some body to it. So I'm just going to pop this right over my placement stitch, and I'm going to put, because I've got to finagle this onto my 7 needle, I'm going to put a couple pops of tape on here because we don't want the thing moving around. All right, I'm going to go stitch stop 2, which is going to tack this down, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to do my absolute best to trim this for you without getting the top of my head under the new camera. Magnets, scissors, always a challenge. When I'm trimming this, I want to get as close as I can get to that tack down stitch without actually cutting it. If you nick it a little, it's okay. Don't freak out. No freaking out allowed. Because as long as you don't cut enough of it that this slides around, you're going to be fine. And you want to cut it close enough that you can see this stitch line here, your placement stitch. The marrow edge is going to fall right outside of that. And I can see there I didn't get quite close enough, but what I'll do is come back with my little double curved thread nipping scissors and kind of get in there a little better. If I've got anywhere where I feel like I might be, it actually looks pretty good except for maybe right here.
If it looks like it's maybe not trimmed quite enough, I'm going to come back with these little scissors and just give it a little more of a trim. Now, we're going to go back and we're going to stitch stop 3. We're stitching the edging first, partly because as we stitch the rest of the design, it's possible for the fabric to draw up and get, you know, warped and distorted a little bit by the stitching. And so we want to get this edge laid down while it's still going to be in alignment with all of this and with the piece itself. It's going to help stabilize the whole thing. And because we're using the no-show mesh, it's going to be able to handle that heavy stitching, so we don't have to worry about it perforating. Before we do this though, the thing I often forget is I'm going to put in a matching bobbin so that I have the same color edging on the bottom and the top. And I'm going to stop partway through this 3rd stitch around to show you how there's one more chance to clean things up if you didn't quite get things trimmed up enough. I think I'm good, but I'll show you what to look for. Okay, I've turned autofocus on because I want to show you a couple things. I stopped partway through stop number 3. And what you'll notice when you're stitching out this stop is that the, yeah, it's focusing okay. You're going to get a double zigzag. It's going to zigzag around one way and then back the other. And this is when you want to check to make sure that you don't have any of your fabric sticking out beyond the zigzag. If it misses a little here, like here it kind of fell off the edge because I cut that a little close, that's okay. The narrow edge goes further into the patch than it does along the edge. It's going to fall right outside this zigzag. So anything outside there is going to be sticking out. Not the end of the world, but if you can catch it now, you have one last chance to kind of trim it. The other thing I wanted to show you, and I don't know if in this light, it's night, long story, found a stray dog, had to take it to the vet, get it chip checked, etc. So I got started late tonight after work, and it is late, and the light in here is really, really crappy. So I don't know if you can see it, but you know a twill fabric because it will have diagonal lines in its weave. That's how you know you're working with a twill. And as I mentioned, I think those are really best anytime you want a nice crisp stitch out. Alrighty, so I'm going to go back and stitch the rest of stop 3. Okay, here is our finished marrow edge. That was stop 3. And now I'm going to go ahead and put regular bobbin thread back, embroidery bobbin thread back in the bobbin case and stitch out the rest of the stops. When I'm done with that, I will come back and show you how to cut this out and what we do with the little bits of extra stabilizer that are going to be still around our edge and how we deal with those. All right, that was the rest of our color stops. And I'm looking for my little tweezers because I'm seeing a couple spots where my auto trim on my machine could have done a little better job. So I'm going to come in here. These are a pair of eyebrow tweezers that have been taken up to my sewing room because they are so wonderful that I'm not going to waste them on just my eyebrows. Let's pop this puppy out. I like to do that little bit of trimming while it's still in the hoop. It gives you, kind of stabilizes it and gives you something to pull against. Can you tell how late it is? I can barely talk. All right, we're almost done though, and then I can go to bed. All right, so I'm gonna rough cut this first, just so that I'm not fighting all this bulk. All right, and then I'm gonna trim as close as I can. I'm trying to make sure, getting used to this new camera setup, I'm trying to make sure that I don't make you seasick or have too many problems with focus. So, okay. I'm going to come in and cut super duper close because then there's less to deal with left over. So I think I'm going to speed up the film when you have to watch this, but know that I'm going very, very slow. All right. Now the magic. Someone catches you playing with fire, you can tell them I told you it was okay. All right, so I'm just going to come along and melt this back. You want to keep it moving so that you don't scorch anything or actually catch your patch on fire. So you have to be kind of patient, because if you stop, you don't want to melt the wrong stuff. And you can see it shrinks. Here, I'm going to zoom in for a minute. All right, we may regret this. I've turned on autofocus, but I want to be able to bring this up so you can see it better. So you can see that the edge is still there, but it's pulled up against the stitching, and so you're really never going to see that. And it's way less messy than dealing with water soluble. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think it works better. It's less fussy, and I like playing with fire. Okay. Oh, look at, there's a tie off. That was exciting. So if you have little pokies sticking out here, that was about to get to be a very dramatic video. If you have little pokies sticking out, if you didn't quite trim close enough, if you're using, especially if you're using a poly and you just brush them with a lighter, they'll just shrink right back up. I'll show you on one of these mini tie-offs that my machine did, because I forgot to turn off the tie-offs. See, it just shrinks back. All right, I'm going to stop messing around here and get this done. All right. All right, I think I got all the way around. Maybe? Yeah, I think so. Oh, there's some I don't like. You can always, it's better to go over it twice gently than to like stop and let it sit there and catch yourself on fire. I have to say my husband was alarmed when I came downstairs and said, I need a lighter, I gotta set stuff on fire. Okay, there we go. All right, come on, autofocus, do your job. There we go. All right, so there you have it. That is our first version of the sunflower design. We're going to take the very same file tomorrow, and we're going to do something different with it. And I'm going to show you a technique where you don't have to cut in the hoop and you still get a roundy thing. So we'll see you tomorrow.